Okay, so does this series converge or diverge? That's the question. What can we do? Let's just pretend that this is just a limit, right? Because essentially every series kind of is a limit, right? It's a lot of summations, right? It's an infinite amount of summations in this case. So let's just take the limit as n goes to infinity for n over n cubed plus 1. So, what does this become? Well, let's divide by... We don't even need to do that. We could clearly see that the bottom is going to approach infinity much faster than the top, right? Because the n cubed. So, we could essentially say it's 1 divided by infinity, right? If you really wanted to go about it and do a little bit more math, but you get to see that the bottom will approach infinity a lot faster than the top. So anything finite divided by something much bigger will eventually be 0, right? Applying this limit logic, so we know it's 0. And if we go to this tab right here, what does it say? It says divergence test. So if the limit is not equal to 0, then what? Then it's divergent. So if it is equal to 0, that means it is convergent. Right. So let's go back here. So we do know that this will converge to something, right? Okay. So it is convergent due to... And what test was that called? I think it was called... I called it... Okay, it's actually called the divergence test. That's what we actually call it. Due to the divergence test. Okay. So there we go. Let's do another one. By the way, I thought I would include this part. So I do have Wolfram Alpha from Pranium. And if you do type it in, right, it just shows, it says it converges. All we cared about is if it converges or diverges. We don't care about the value. But if you do want to find the value, then you could use the integral test and then actually find the value that it converges to right here, right? So, but that's not really needed because the question is asked for. So let's go next to this one. Okay. So we have this right here. Okay. What type of test do we want to do? Well, truly, there's a lot of tests, but you should... Let's find it. Okay. We could use... You can always do a lot of types of tests. I recommend doing the ratio test. I think it's one of the easier ones. And basically what we do is we see the series function, we call a sub n, and then either you add a sub n plus 1 divided by a sub n, and there you go. And take the limit and you see what happens. Okay, so let's go back. And let's just say that, let me just define a sub n. A sub n here, I think you guys all know, it's to be 2n over n dot n factorial. So then we see that a sub n plus 1 is 2n plus 1. And then wherever you see n, you do n plus 1 now. Right, there you go. Okay, so let's write this out. This is the same thing as 2n times 2. And this would be n squared. N squared plus what? What am I doing? Let's just leave it like that. Let's just write it as n plus 1. N plus 1 factorial. Okay. And remember, the test, we want it to be the limit of a sub n plus 1 divided by a sub n as n is to infinity. And we have 3 results for this, right? So if equals 1, if greater than 1, if less than 1. Yeah, that's an ugly lesson, if. And then what happens? So then let's go back to my little cheater table. And this is what happens. So if equals 1, it's inconclusive, you can't do anything, okay? If it's greater than 1, I mean, if it's less than 1, it converges. If it's greater than 1, diverges. Okay. So, greater than 1, it diverges, converges, and, oh, I don't know. That's what we say. I gotta do a different one. Okay. So let's divide these two guys by each other. Let's do it over here. So we have 2n times 2, n plus 1, n plus 1 factorial. And then since we are dividing, right, since we're following this formula here, I wrote out this guy here and I wrote out this guy here just to make it all easier. So now I know it's 2 divided by n factorial. So you can see the 2's can go away. Right? So then you're just left with what? 2 to the power n times n factorial divided by n plus 1 factorial. Okay, so what this means... Okay. So no, we're not watching Stranger Things. I'm listening to Stranger Things as I'm teaching you guys. Okay. Okay, why is this not loaded? Okay. Essentially, oops, something kind of happened here. So I said, guys, we have this limit, right? I mean, we have this, and this tells us that this thing right here is equal to, I'm going to zoom out now. Right, here's the work. This thing over here divided by this thing over here is equal to this thing. And essentially, if we take the limit of this thing, which is this thing over here, what happens? Is this going to be equal to 1? Is it greater than 1, or is it less than 1? So if we take this limit, so I'm going to grab this guy over here, drag him a little bit. Okay, and now if we take the limit, n goes to infinity, what do we see? Well, we know... Sorry, that's a break in notation. We know that... we know that n plus 1 factorial, that is going to be a lot bigger than this setup right here. But this also has this. So, is this combination up here greater than this? What is going to go to infinity faster? Well, think about this. What's to say 1 plus 1? Okay, here's the part where I'm going to cut myself off real quick and just tell you guys that this, you take that limit, it goes to 0. Okay, trust me, it goes to 0. I'm going to show you guys the, the answer. But it's more just like the reason why I'm doing that here is because this question is more of a, it's a quick question. It's does it converge or does it diverge? Right? All we need to know. You just need to kind of make this quick assumption and see that this limit does go to 0 because the bottom part will go to infinity much faster than the top part. Since that's said, if it's equal to 0, then it's less than 1. So then we know that this guy, let's not forget about the original question. This guy diverges. Diverges. That's our answer. And if you guys don't believe me, where is it? Oh, not Stranger Things. There we go. Oh, my bad. It is absolutely convergent. Let me look at my... Yeah, it's convergent. My bad. Don't get your sheet wrong like me. So, let me just rewrite that real quick. That's actually really embarrassing. And this is also embarrassing right now. Convergent. If it's greater than 1, then it diverges. If it's less than 1, then it converges. There we go. Sorry, I wrote that wrong. Here you go. I hope you guys saw that when I was writing that. This is a terrible video. You should hit the dislike, because I'm actually going to upload this, but you should really hit the dislike and comment that I should stop making these videos.